Okay, so let's start looking at linear equations, and in particular start looking at how to solve basic linear equations. So let's look at something like this. We have solve x plus 7 equals 10. So the goal is to isolate the x, because that's what we're trying to find. And the fundamental idea is that we're always going to get rid of the plus and minus terms before we get rid of any multiplication or division terms. So the way to get rid of something, if it's on the left hand side, which is where we want the x to be, we're going to do the opposite. So here we have solve x plus 7 equals 10, and we need to get rid of this plus 7. So the way we're going to get rid of this plus 7 is do the opposite. So what's the opposite of plus 7? It's minus 7. So we're going to have x plus 7 minus 7, 10 minus 7, because if we do something to the left hand side of the equation, we have to do it to the right hand side. So we have x plus 7 minus 7. Well, 7 minus 7 is 0. So we have x plus 0, and then we'll have 10 minus 7, which is 3, and x plus 0 is just x, so that gives us x equals 3. And let's say you wanted to check this, you don't believe me that this is the way to do it, well, let's just put 3 in there and see if it works. Well, if x equals 3, then we have 3 plus 7, and that indeed equals 10. Good. Okay, moving on to this next example, we have x minus 3 equals 4. Now remember that, well, there's no multiplication terms or anything to worry about, so we're only going to get rid of this minus 3, and we have to do the opposite. So the opposite of minus 3 is plus 3, so we'll have x minus 3 plus 3, and whatever we do to the left hand side, we have to do to the right hand side. So we'll have 4 plus 3. Now, minus 3 plus 3 is 0, so I can just get rid of that, and I'll have x, and then 4 plus 3 is 7. Let's check that that's exactly what we want. So we have 7 minus 3 equals 4. Good. Next example. Here we don't have any addition or subtraction terms, but we have a multiplication by 4. So we have 4 times x equals 8. Again, we proceed in the exact same way. We do the opposite. So what's the opposite of multiplication by 4? It's division by 4. So we'll have 4x divided by 4 equals 8 over 4, because whatever we do to the left hand side, we have to do to the right hand side. And this cancels the 4's here. So I'll get x equals 8 divided by 4, but that's 2. Again, we can check that. We just see that 2 times 4 is 8. Next example, solve 1/2 x equals 3. Now this is a multiplication by 1/2, but 1/2 x is the same as x divided by 2. So really what we have is that this equation is x divided by 2 equals 3. Now the opposite of division by 2 is multiplication by 2. So we'll have 2x divided by 2 equals 2 times 3. The 2's cancel, and so what I end up with is x equals 6. And you can see that again, if you just put x equals 6 into this equation, I get 6 divided by 2 is 3, and that verifies that we got the right answer. Okay, let's try putting them together now. So remember, we always do the plus terms first. So I've got 3x plus 1 equals 7. I'm going to get rid of this plus 1 first. So the way to do that is to do the opposite. So I'm going to minus 1. So I'm going to have 3x plus 1 minus 1 equals 7 minus 1. The 1's now cancel. So I have 3x equals, and then this is 6. Now we have a multiplication by 3. Now the opposite of multiplication by 3 is division by 3. So I'm going to have 3x divided by 3 is 6 divided by 3. Whatever we do on the left hand side, have to do to the right hand side. So now the 3's cancel and I get x is 6 divided by 3, but 6 divided by 3 is just 2. Again, let's check it. So I have 3 times 2 plus 1. So 3 times 2 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7. For our last example, let's do a similar one. So this time we have 2x plus 4 equals 8. We'll get rid of this plus 4 term. The opposite of plus 4 is minus 4. So I have 2x plus 4 minus 4 is 8 minus 4. The 4's cancel here, so I get 2x is equal to 4. 8 minus 4 giving me this 4 here. Now I have a multiplication by 2. The opposite of multiplication by 2 is division by 2. So I have 2x over 2 equals 4 over 2. And then these 2's cancel and I get 4 divided by 2 is 2, so the answer is x equals 2. Before finishing off, let's just put this value into check. So I get 2 times 2 plus 4. 2 times 2 is 4, so 4 plus 4 is 8. And that's correct. Okay, just to recap, remember that we always do these, get rid of the addition or subtraction terms first. We get rid of a term by doing the opposite. The opposite of plus is subtraction. The opposite of subtraction is addition. The opposite of multiplication is division, and the opposite of division is multiplication. Is there anything else we need to mention? I think that's enough for this tutorial. In the next video, we'll look at how to solve equations with fractions. Also, because practice is so important, be sure to check the video description for the tute notes, which have practice problems, and the cheat notes if you would like fully worked solutions to those problems.